Thank you for joining me today. My name is Cassia, and we are getting into the house setup for Galactic Astrology. Now, I do follow the Soul House system, and if you are looking for a fancy schmancy website on the Soul House system, I have not created it yet. So that is why we don't have a lot of data to go on. This is my knowledge and my understanding of where the houses start. So I use an intuitive process to find where each of the souls come in at your birth chart, on your soul chart, in your soul, because everyone is different. We come in cycles, and all the women cycle together, and they have soul setups the same. So women in Earth cycles all have the same soul setup. Women in Mercury cycles all have the same soul setup. Women in Mars cycles all have the same soul setup. And obviously the same for Venus, same soul setup. So that's what we're looking at with the souls. And I will have more data on that soon. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be updating that very shortly. Now, the first house, most of these are very similar to standard 3D astrology. And we just understand that some of these things have updated and changed just a little bit as we transition into the 5D, into Galactic Astrology. We're updating our understandings of what we're here for, what we need to do, and we need astrology to support us on that path. Here it is. The first house is the house of self. Again, that has not changed from the standard zodiac. So this is really about you on the inside. This isn't vessel you. This is on the inside you, soul you. How do you feel on the inside about yourself? How do you identify? How are you presenting to others and to the public? The second house is resource. Now, I should say the first house is ruled by Aries. That's the landlord of that house, which is Aries. And it does follow that whole setup. If I don't mention it, in each of the houses, it does follow that setup, starting with Aries as a landlord in the first house. Now, you might not have Aries in the first house, but hopefully you know enough about astrology and you know where your house is going to basically start. So anywho, second house is the house of resources. Now, of course, this connects in with Taurus and Venus. Venus is all about resources. So this is how you feel about resources. What's the polarity of the soul in your resource house? Is it a male or female polarity soul in that house? How do you feel about resources? How do you feel about sharing your resources? Have a child who doesn't like to share, and I mean like, woo! You know, they might have a male soul in the second house because they're only processing through that lens of self. The third house is neighborhood. Now, this is where we get into siblings and communication. So how are you communicating with others in your local neighborhood type of situation? This isn't the larger 12th house of community. This is the lower decker third house communication style, siblings, neighborhood type of relationships. The fourth house covers your home, your foundation, your mother. In standard 3D astrology, we tend to see that it's, whichever parent is most nurturing. No, this one is the mother. The mother is recognized in Galactic Astrology, in the soul house system. We are recognizing the mother. She is who houses you. She housed you in her body. She gave you your foundation. She was the one who wiped all those tears, most likely, and picked up all the wreckage after you as a child. So we recognize the mother in the fourth house. That's your foundation. The fifth house is creativity, children, and receiving. Now, this is ruled by Leo. So Leo is the dragon, and this is all about being creative, the sparkly bits. How are you creative? What are you creating? Those types of things in the fifth house. The sixth house is about your daily routine and your service to others, ruled by Virgo, the wolf. Now, this is where we're really seeing, day-to-day activities. What are you setting up for yourself for your routines? What kind of planets do you have in that house, and what kind of interactions are you going to have in your daily routine? Because as we remember, planets in our chart come out as people in our daily lives. And so these are interactions that we would be having in our daily lives through our charts. The seventh house is partnerships, and I really like to spend a little time here updating what that means to me and how I describe that. So partnerships standardly has meant like your one-to-one husband-wife pairing partnership or a business partnership. And yes, those are still true, but it brings in the other one-to-one partnerships, that best friend partnership, and even the one-to-one partnerships you have with your children. And now, yes, we see children in the fifth house, but our relationship when they get older, it does shift and change. And we see that, kids don't want to be parented. They don't want to be told what to do as adults. So we really need to update those relationships into one-to-one partnerships within that 7th house energy. So that's how we update. With all of our familial ties, we can turn them into a one-to-one partnership and a one-to-one relationship with our understanding of how they are surfing into our lives. And it depends on how they play out. The 8th house is transformation and death. So this is where we're seeing transitions, changes, transformations. Big shifts in energy come from this house and this soul. And this is the soul that's really making a lot of those transformational changes. They're feeling that transformational energy, and they're helping you move through it through this soul and this soul frequency. The 9th house is about unity and healing. Now, the 9th house is where we bring in Ophiuchus. So if you're new to 13 sign astrology, you are learning about Ophiuchus and how it plays up in the sky and what's going on with that. But it's about unity and healing. So we are really wanting to understand it's the cosmic egg energy. So that's the planet, or the animal representation is the cosmic egg. So it brings in all of this healing energy. So it can have the healing for all of the things that we are doing. We're healing ourselves as we're transforming to the 5th dimension of being 5th dimensional humans. So that's what we're doing there. In the 10th house, we have spirituality, education, and travel. So this house is where we're getting spiritual. This is ruled by Sagittarius. So this brings in the Phoenix energy. And this allows us to really kind of have different understandings of how to be spiritual, how to connect with ourselves. It brings in some of that magical energy of the Phoenix where things are possible that we didn't understand. And we are these hardwired 3D humans, and it's just like, nope, sorry, I've had this hard life. This isn't possible. And these energies from Sagittarius bring in potential for all of these possibilities. It's exciting. So it brings in education and travel. So this is really where we're seeing the higher learning come in with Jupiter. And we're learning about how to level up as humans, how to be more spiritual, how to do a better job and connect with ourselves more and do all of that fun stuff. The 11th house is your business house, and this house is connected to the father. And this is another foundational house. The father is very well represented within the Galactic Astrology because we recognize he plays an important part. Now, if that father is not in the family structure, what does that do to your own life and your own frequency? How does that flavor who you are and how you are? And within this house, what planets do you have? What planets are interacting with you in your business activities? So who's showing up in your business activities? The 12th house is community. So this is Aquarius house. This is the hawk. This is where we're seeing the community, and this is where we're seeing everything come together for our community. So this is more than just the neighborhood. This is going outside the neighborhood and looking at, the general community around us, the area that we live in, and how are we affecting that cycle? How are we coming to play in our communities? Because we need to show up in our communities. We haven't been. We've all been, kind of hermits, I think, through the pandemic cycle, but we were supposed to be. We needed to learn a lesson. We needed to learn about families. We needed to learn who we are, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we tolerated, and how we're going to go forward. So that's how we're moving through community. And the last house is so important. Now, the last house is not unconsciousness. The last house, the 13th house, is the collective consciousness. And this is because all of the things in our galaxy are alive. They're all consciousness. They all have a polarity of consciousness, and we can interact with all of this consciousness, not just people, in our world, in our galaxy, in the world that we live in, and the way that we interact and the way that we show up. So this is how we are coming to play with everyone on Earth, because we realize we are all connected. At soul level, we are all connected with everyone. So it's very exciting. Those are your 13 houses. So I'll run through those real quick for you. So the first house of self, second house of resources, third house of neighborhood, siblings, communication, fourth house of home, mother, and foundation. Fifth house is creativity, children, and receiving. Sixth house is daily routine, service to others, and giving. Actually, I didn't say that one, but that's important on the sixth house too. It's like the polarity to Leo is receiving. With Virgo is giving. Seventh house is partnerships. Eighth house is transformation and death. Ninth house is unity and healing. 10th house is spirituality, education, and travel. 11th house is business and father. 12th house is community, and the 13th is collective consciousness. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll talk soon.